Jordan Peterson, Beyond Order 12 More Rules for Life. This book is filled with models for how we might think about and prepare for life, something that religious leaders, authors, philosophers have been exploring for millennia. One concept that comes up again and again in those explorations is about suffering. It's the first noble truth in Buddhism, it's a core tenet of the Bible, it's written about by philosophers like Nietzsche. The only constant in life is suffering. In a recent interview, Jordan said, "It seems to me that the purpose of life is to find a mode of being that is so meaningful that the fact that life is suffering is no longer relevant." These rules, in my eyes, are an attempt to help you find that meaning. Rule 1. Do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievement. One client that Jordan had been seeing for years had very limited family ties and little other contact with the outside world. When they first began working together, the conversations were awkward, and Jordan had to let the man talk for almost an entire hour before they were able to have much of a conversation. It turns out that after years of struggle, this man really just needed someone to talk to. See, humans need to talk about the nature of our present reality and our future plans. That's how we orient ourselves in the world. It's how we know where we are and where we're going. A huge amount of our brains are dedicated to that social interaction. This is one of the reasons why social media is now so addicting. But social media isn't enough. Real community, family, and a supportive workplace are all important things to help keep us on track and happy. We miss out on those things at our own peril. Rule 2. Imagine who you could be and then aim single-mindedly at that. This rule starts off with two basic questions. The first is, who are you? And it's not as easy an answer as you might think. It turns out that human beings are very complex. Not only are you the sum of your past experiences, but you're some mix of that and your future potential. And speaking of potential, this leads us to question number 2. Who could you be? This section sees Jordan sharing stories of dragons in the metaphor that they represent. They represent danger and possibility that requires the best of us to overcome. Dragons force us to confront our potential, and we transform along the way. Modern-day dragons, of course, look like challenging ourselves with education, career, and family, but they're dragons nonetheless, and we should treat them as such. Rule 3 is do not hide unwanted things in the fog. Say what you mean and don't ignore things, as it breeds resentment. This rule applies to all areas of your life. Rule number 4, notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. Take on difficult things that others don't want responsibility for. It turns you into an invaluable asset, which opens up opportunities for you that others don't have access to. Rule 5. Do not do what you hate. In life, we're sometimes asked to do things that make us weak, contemptuous, or ashamed. Your goal should be to put yourself into a position where you can say no to those things. Rule 6. Abandon ideology. There's so much more to this world than objective reality. Consciousness and religious experiences induced by chemicals point to that. Pay attention to what you're idolizing. Rule 7. Work as hard as you possibly can on one thing and see what happens. Far below the Earth's surface, coal is subject to heat and pressure, which causes its atoms to rearrange into one of the hardest substances known to man, diamonds. There's good evidence that humans are a lot like coal, extremely adaptable and filled with potential. That potential only realized when we apply pressure. This type of pressure, though, looks a lot like hard work. It looks like taking on projects, adapting behaviors and responsibilities that push you to your absolute limit. For example, getting into shape might require you to do hard things. Being successful in a business or career might require you to work long hours. Having a successful relationship may require you to confront emotions that you'd rather not. Each time you push your limit, you feel that pressure. But each time you make it through, you become harder and more resilient, transforming from simple, ubiquitous coal into a rare diamond. Rule 8. Try to make one room in your house as beautiful as possible. Cleaning your room isn't enough. Connecting with true beauty is the pinnacle of human existence, something that many of us have lost. Rule 9. If old memories still upset you, write them down carefully and completely. Past negative experiences can sometimes become a caricature in our minds. By writing them down carefully and completely, we can attempt to get the true experience out, and often we find things along the way we didn't realize were there. This process can be healing. Rule 10. Plan and work diligently to maintain your romantic relationships. Romance plays an integral role in the human experience. All too often, we treat it as a secondary aspect, take it for granted. Instead, spend time and energy making your relationship as stable as possible. Rule 11. Do not allow yourself to become resentful, deceitful, or arrogant. Life is too short, and these negative states of being are all too easy to fall into. Doing your best to avoid them is difficult, but it's a worthwhile goal. Rule 12. Be grateful in spite of your suffering. And there's that word again, suffering. It's fitting that we should end on it because this is where we all began. Suffering is universal. It's everywhere and with everyone, which is tricky because it looks so different for everyone that it's sometimes hard to see in others. The antidote to suffering is gratitude. Studies have shown this for decades, and a simple practice of gratitude is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. Jordan agrees here and gives us a look into how the deeper our suffering goes, the more we truly have to be grateful for. We can't see the light without first peering into the darkness. I appreciate you spending your precious time with me today, and I hope you got something meaningful out of the video. If you did, please consider subscribing and liking the video, which helps me reach more people. Also, if you're interested, I have a mailing list linked down below where I'll be sharing more notes in the future.